Ashland is booming, new districts are rising, and wealthy communities are flourishing. But with that success comes pressure, and right now the latest planned district, Claywood, is feeling the squeeze. Originally it was slated for low to medium density housing with small commercial and office lots. Claywood is now pegged for something much bigger. The city is moving to expand Ashland's downtown core into the area, bringing in the tallest buildings the city has ever seen. And really, the reasoning is simple. Ashland's population is exploding, and housing demand is through the roof. Property values are skyrocketing, and if the city can't deliver more units, residents will just start looking somewhere else. And when they do, so will their money. But there's a catch. More density means a need for more jobs, and right now, Ashland doesn't have them. Unemployment is at a record high, and key infrastructure like park and road maintenance are falling behind. Some residents are warning that the city is rushing headlong into chaos. City officials are all in. They're calling this the key to Ashland's economic future. So today, we're diving into Ashland's most ambitious build yet by expanding our downtown core with our highest level of density. Alright, welcome back to Ashland. Today we're going to be diving into what's probably going to be one of my favorite builds so far. We're moving closer to the denser part of the downtown, right here in this area. And for this area, I really want to focus on detailed plazas nestled between the buildings. I don't want to just throw up a bunch of tall buildings and call it a day. I want it to feel intentional, like there's a reason for every single space in between. So we'll spend a lot more time detailing the higher density than we will with the low density. But first things first, I want to grab all of these nodes and then align them to a single node. Let's say this node right here. And honestly, I'm not even sure if that made a difference, but it's done. So let's move on to phase 2. For phase 2, we're going to do something that doesn't technically exist in the game yet, but I think it could really elevate this area, and I'm talking about a bike lane. Yeah, so we're going to be making a bike lane for this road. I feel like if we don't add it now, the road's just going to feel too empty, like way too bare. So we'll add it in and dress it up with some surface textures to make it actually look like a proper path. And to get this done, all we really need to do is just grab our median and put it right beside our sidewalk. Then we'll increase our median size and give it some trees and some grass. Now we'll just take an empty lane and we're going to place that empty lane right in between the median and the sidewalk. We'll increase the size to about 2 meters, I think. I think that should look nice. Yeah, and I think that's pretty solid. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our green bike path texture and just place it on top of it. And then we'll go through and put a white divider line in the middle. That way we can simulate as if it's like a bi-directional bike path. And wow, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I totally forgot that we need to upgrade all the roads first. So the way I see it, the city probably decided to add a bike lane to make the area feel more pedestrian friendly, but they didn't actually want to commit to full bike infrastructure. And that's why it's going to just end abruptly right up here. And it's going to be kind of funny because, this happens in real life all the time. You get these half-finished bike lanes or pedestrian paths that pretty much just end out of nowhere. And it could be for any reason. Maybe the city ran out of budget, and maybe they just don't really care. That's kind of what I wanted to capture here. They don't really care. They just wanted to get this in because it makes them look good. All right, now I like it a lot. I think it works pretty well for what we're going to be using it for. Unfortunately, it won't actually work, and maybe one day when bikes are a thing, we'll be able to just insert a bike lane into here. But I do like how it cleans it up a bit and just makes it feel different from all the other areas in the city. Now I'm going to quickly go and add the surfaces in and the white divider in off camera. So I'll do that and I'll be right back. And I really like how it turned out. I think it kind of feels like a real bike lane. If this was functional, the civilians would be able to go ride down this bike lane and see a beautiful waterfront area. If you're like me, you're probably thinking, wow, some props would really look nice on that sidewalk on the waterfront. And I totally agree. But it would take so much time and effort because the terrain and the quay wall are weirdly interacting with each other. So maybe I'll do that in a future episode. Now let's quickly go over how I want to zone this. So in this area right here, I want to have a bunch of high density buildings, either residential, commercial, maybe office, but I don't know, they tend to be a bit too high for my liking. Then in this area, we're going to have some small commercial lots, maybe a few offices. And then up here, I want the grocery store, plus maybe some services. But honestly, it depends whether or not we're in the negative by the end of this episode. We're already doing pretty bad, so we'll see. But we do have some services we really need. Now for the zoning, I'm going to manually plop every single building because I want this area to have a very specific feel, and I want the density to gradually increase from left to right, but also I don't want a lot of flatness. I'm looking at this area right here in the top right corner, and it feels a bit flat, and I don't really like that. So in this area, I want to make sure we're just varying up how high each building is, even if it's not in our highest density area, but we'll probably have one big plot of land with one bigger building. So let's get a few placed down. And I want to run an alleyway right here, so I'm just going to leave a little bit of space. I don't know if it'll fit, but we'll see. If need be, I can just move those buildings over as well. Now to get a bit of variance between the buildings that are beside each other, I'm just going to move these around. And I think that looks much better. Over here, I'm looking for something with a bigger footprint. This will be our tallest building, and maybe we'll have 2 or 3 of them here. And this building right here fits perfectly for what I'm looking for. It is the biggest building in our city by a long shot, but also it's not completely overwhelming for what we already have. And then we'll just add something a little bit smaller beside it. I like the variance. I think it makes for a nice shoreline. And just taking a look at that, I think it's perfect. It's pretty much exactly aligned with what I wanted to do here. Now we need to figure out what we're going to do with these plots back here because we have a decent amount of land, and really I could just add in more buildings, but I feel like that'll make it overwhelming. My original thought process now was, okay, well the city wanted to make this pedestrian friendly. That's even why they added in the bike path in the first place. They wanted to have pedestrian friendly means of transportation. So one of the city's selling points to this area would be its pedestrian plazas, the ability to really just go out back or out front and have somewhere to sit, hang out, do whatever you want. And it gives a really nice feeling to it as well. So I'm going to add in some plazas with a mix of parking. And to do this, I'm going to run an alleyway down here. I tried a pedestrian path, but it just wouldn't make sense. These buildings have garages attached to their backs, and I wish they didn't. Yeah, that's way too broken, so we're just going to delete that and try again. Okay, I just added some trees and grass just to improve the area a bit. Now I want to add in some parking. If these buildings functioned correctly, I probably wouldn't have to do this, but we'll start by deleting probably this alleyway right here, and then we'll just plop a parking lot that fits. And I can't help but feel like these parking lots are just a waste of space, and they'll probably create traffic problems. So we can just send one of our modular parking lot roads down this area, and I'm thinking on either having sidewalks or no sidewalks. Right now, I'm actually leaning towards no sidewalks because we'll just make a plaza here instead, and that'll give this area more walkability anyways. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Now for the area beside it. First things first, I think we'll have to move the buildings over just to create a bit more space. And then we'll leave this lane in between and just run an alleyway through here. And then we'll get rid of that road right there. And now we should be able to add a parking lot in. You know what, I need more time to simmer on the idea because I really don't like the idea of adding one here. Because we could always just add one over here. In fact, our alleyway right here for our office building would be a prime place to add 2 of these in. I would do it right now, but we're broke, so we can't do it yet. But soon enough, hopefully we won't be broke, and then we can add in some more parking. But yeah, I'm going to simmer a little bit more on the idea of where I want to add in parking. And for the meantime, I'm just going to finish out plopping a few more buildings. And all of these just feel way too massive for the area. I just don't like them. I feel like I got some more and it was probably in mixed use. Yeah, there we go. Those feel perfect for this area. Okay, now I'm gonna run a path through here, and my detailing is gonna be a bit chaotic for this episode because sometimes I'll decide to detail a plot and sometimes I won't. Sometimes I'll come and I'll just pull these surfaces out and other times I won't. So I'm gonna try and fast forward through most of this in the editing, but I still want you to see what's happening here because I really do want to make every single plot in the higher density areas feel real, feel like you would actually want to go back there and hang out. And I think in order to do that, I need to be careful because I don't want to go into full detailing mode right away, but I do want to get some done. So it'll be a mix of both. Oh, I think this building would be perfect for over here. We could probably place 2 of them, the left and the right. And then this building right here would actually work really well with our older style of buildings over here. So this area I imagine to be a bit older. Maybe it was one of the first areas developed, or maybe it's the area that didn't get redeveloped for whatever reason. But I do imagine it to be just slightly older than the rest. And then this area is more brand new. everything was recently developed or recently redeveloped. We have this tiny little mixed use building right here, and I think I haven't used it yet, and I know I want to. So I'm trying to see if is there a place where we can fit this in naturally, and it looks like there's a higher level variant of it. So let's actually delete this, and then we'll just move this over, and we'll fit that in nice and tight. And I like that so much better. I like the varying heights. It just makes it feel much more real. Now I just want to see, how does it feel overall? Does it feel cohesive? Does it feel like it could actually exist? And I think it does. Now let's start framing up these areas with parking and paths. I think that's going to be key to getting an understanding of how we want to detail. Actually, before I continue, I'm going to click play for a bit so we don't run into a massive death wave or a massive like healthcare wave. Okay, now I let that simulate for roughly about 5 minutes. I'm surprised our population isn't really any higher. I expected it to be a bit more. But the good news is that we are in the green, and that is exciting. We've been in a back and forth tug and war between red and green for the last 14 episodes, so I'm happy that we're back in it. Now let's continue building our downtown. So I got stuck for a bit on what to put down, and I totally forgot that we had all these awesome signature commercial assets, and I really want to get them in, especially in our downtown. And this one right here is the cinema, and I think this would be perfect right beside the bus station, right beside the high school, and really close to our high density. So we're going to place it somewhere right about here. And I want to make this feel a bit more intentional, so we're going to improve the surfaces, and we'll run some paths along it as well. And I think I've decided on this surface alone. It just feels very bricky, feels very kind of old-timey, but also new-timey at the same time. I don't even know if that's a sentence or if that makes sense, but I hope you get what I'm going for. For the paths, I'm pretty much just going to run them all the way around this building, trying to connect up the bus station, the high school, and the bus stop, all towards this entire area. And is it just me, or is this a really weird fence to have right here? It almost feels kind of industrial, so I'm going to get rid of it, and then I'm going to connect the surfaces to the paths. Nice. Okay, then over here, I'm going to do the same thing, but we have this path already. And I want that to be kind of a flowing connection. For now, that's where we're going to leave it because I don't want to get too stuck on one area. I want to keep things moving forward. We have the Eclipse nightlife. It's kind of like a bar, I guess, or a club. And I want to place this somewhere over here, but I don't want it to be too close to the high school because I don't want to relive my childhood. It's going to provide a lot of good bonuses as well. And I think this is going to be important for making sure that we get our demand up and we get some tourists coming in the area, which is always a nice plus. Now we're going to do a little bit of work on it. One, I don't know why this fence is on this asset. Again, it just feels weird. So we're going to do a little bit of surface work, a little bit of path work, and a tiny bit of landscaping. While I'm here, I should check to see 52 employees. That's not too bad. What is our unemployment right now? 22.1%. That is really bad. I think we're beyond a Great Depression at this point in time. I don't really remember the numbers, so if you do, feel free to correct me in the comments below. But I'm wondering, how much does our cinema have as well? So 24, and not as much. So it's not a very high job producer. But let's get a high job producer in by placing our supermarket. I think that one employs at least 200 to 300 people, which will be really important for where we're at right now, essentially into the depression. Now we can place it at the top or at the bottom, but I think I'm going to go with the top. Then I just want to clean up some of these trees a bit. And for the most part, I'm fine with the parking lot. The only thing I don't like is the surfaces right here. It almost feels a little bit too upscale, and we could try replacing them. So we'd have to pull back the road surface just a bit, and we can see how that looks, but I have a feeling it's not going to look too good. Yeah, so we could use something like this, but again, that's too fancy, and really we could just use the road. I think the road surface is actually what we're going to use, and I have an idea. Let's take the vanilla curb, and let's just run it down the middle. And you know what? I don't think that looks too bad. I think it kind of feels like there is that separated right there, and for the most part, I like it, so that's what I'm going to go with. All right, much, much better. Now I'm just gonna swap up the surfaces and put some trees around here and we'll be done. All right, now how is our unemployment looking? Let's see. So this provides 220 jobs. We have it filled at 208 and our unemployment is 22.5%. Okay, it's just gonna be one of those things where we just forget about it for now and we just keep moving forward as best as we can. Let's see, what else can we place here? We have the Westward Center, and I think this one's pretty nice too. And it should help with jobs just a tiny bit. I mean, we could place it up here in a higher density area, but I don't think it makes sense. I think it would actually fit really well somewhere over here. And you know what? This area right here would be perfect for it. And I want to place 3 of them. And now I want to use an asset I've never used before, and that's the espresso on the go. It's always been so car oriented to me, and I don't know, it feels way too long, but I still do want to get it in because we might as well use all the job makers that we can. And I think right here would be a pretty solid spot for it, right beside the supermarket, right beside our sports park, and right beside our high school. So if you were at high school, you can come here on lunch. If you were, going to the football game, you can come grab a coffee or whatever. So solid place for me. I think it's fine. This area will be more car oriented anyways. I don't want to make it too walkable over here. And then we have our Le Coulier d'Argent or something like that. I butchered that pronunciation, I guarantee it. And I think we can place it somewhere over here. I think the waterfront would be key for a building like this. So maybe right there. Yeah, it's too long. The second best option is to have it configured something like this. Now we're just gonna do a bit of landscaping, detailing, clean up the surfaces, then we'll be done. All right, looking good. I tried to make sure that the waterfront views weren't being disturbed by the trees, so that's why I kind of kept them in the back and on the other side. Now I think it's probably time to add in some of that parking we were talking about earlier. We do have the money for it and we're still in the positive, so we're all good to spend money. For a parking lot, not too bad. Now I think it's time to knock off some of these pedestrian plazas that I want to build, and what better time than right now? Not bad, definitely not bad. I kind of like it. Again, pretty good. I think it's a solid little plaza and I think it adds to the area. Instead of it just feeling like there's back-to-back buildings everywhere, I like it a lot. And let's see, has our unemployment got any better? No, it's gotten worse. Oh my god, 26%? Okay, that's pretty rough. Let's take a look at some more buildings here. We have this building, I don't want to place it though. There's gotta be something. Wait, what about the brewery? Where's the brewery? Here's the brewery. Okay, we could place it there. I don't really want to do that. Maybe here? We could change the roads if we have to. Like, I'm not against changing the roads. Is there anywhere it fits naturally? No, there's nowhere it fits naturally. So honestly, I'm just going to place it right here. I'll delete this road. And then first things first, we'll probably just draw a path around this area. Then we'll fix up the surface. So we'll just replace it. Or maybe we'll just change it to something else. Yeah, that works. I like that. I think that looks nice. Now I just want to add a road back in. So we'll just draw it straight up. Then we'll just curve right in. And then finally, we'll just finish up with some detailing here, so nothing crazy, a surface, some trees, the usual. There we go, not looking too bad. Now we're just gonna go finish up with some more of our plazas. And although this entire area is primarily mixed use, I still want to add in just a few offices where I can, and try to make it make sense as much as I can at least. That way we can have some more employment, and hopefully our unemployment won't be 26%, which is insane. Due to the layout, I think this plaza is a bit weird, but overall, I think it's okay. It's not the best, but it's okay. Now we're just gonna add in a grass surface to finish it off. It's coming together pretty nicely so far. I'm kind of happy with it. I can't wait till it's all done. And I'm noticing we have a lot of hearse icons, and that's starting to spook me out just a tiny bit. Everything looks good over here. I mean, we do have all of our vehicles in use, so maybe we can consider adding another garage. But the real problem is the distance from that downtown area to over here. So in the meantime, I will add an additional incinerator, but I think we really need to start expanding our death care. And to me, the next best thing would be a cemetery. And it'd be like on the way opposite end of this area, because this area cannot handle everything. It's pretty impressive that it's doing so far, but it's not sustainable long term. In fact, it's not sustainable right now, as we're clearly witnessing. Yeah, take a look at Lithia Gardens. It's completely red, but that could also just be for healthcare, I think. Yeah, that's healthcare coverage, so not entirely relevant to the situation we're facing, but still, that one crematorium has to drive all the way to Lithia Gardens or all the way to Hillside, and it's something that we will need to fix. In the meantime, though, let's just finish building out some of these plazas. If it comes down to it, if we pop back up and there's like 20 hearse icons, we'll just deal with it right then and there. Man, those hearse icons are driving me crazy. It's very distracting. Now I want to finish up some of the zoning on the back of these buildings, because right now the road just feels very bare and weird. So we'll try and find a few buildings in here that I think can fit nicely. I've tried a few different configurations and pretty much all of them were driving me crazy because it didn't work. But this long building right here does work. The fun part about these awkward shaped blocks is always trying to figure out how to work around the confinements of what you have to make something look nice, just due to the limitations of Cities Skylines zoning. Now I want to steal one of these and bring it over here. Where did we go? Oh, there we are. So I've touched this up just a bit. I changed some of the surfaces out. I tried my best to work within the confinements, but there's only really so much you can do in a space like this. And then just to finish this area off, we will just add another little grass surface right here. I'm seeing two places that I already missed, and I should probably detail. For this area right here, we'll just do a couple trees. And I think it came out pretty nice. For the parcel we were working with, it came out pretty nice. So I was hunting for our next little area to build out, and I zoomed out for a second, and all I see is this. So we're gonna add in our cemetery right now. We could add in the UK Parish Church, or we could just add in the Vanilla Cemetery. I think I'll probably go with the Vanilla Cemetery, just because it's got a big footprint and I kind of like that. I'm looking at Lithia Gardens as our top prime spot for the cemetery. It'd be close to the retirees, so they can go visit their friends, family, whoever it may be. Yeah, so this is definitely going to be the area. Let's start by leveling, and then we'll slope up from the road to the area. And I like the idea of using the suburban 2-lane road, the one with no markings. It just feels a little bit more tame compared to this 2-lane road. So we'll just send it up. And I want to leave a fair amount of space on the right side of the road because we'll have to have another entrance coming in, or at least exit. This place will be sending out a lot of vehicles, and because of that, having this be a cul-de-sac just doesn't make sense. So we'll place this, and then we'll send a second road up. And there's a bit of weirdness happening right there on that corner. I believe it's due to elevation, but we should just be able to manipulate the nodes and fix this. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's not bad either. I don't want to mess with our water in our garden too much, so I think that should do the trick. And we have a few upgrades we can place. Usually I would do a bunch of detailing when I place a cemetery, especially because it is really an important place. But for right now, the focus of this episode is Claywood. And I want to try and stay focused on that as much as I can at least. And so I think for now I'll just place some trees around it. We'll call it a day and we'll go back to focusing on Claywood. All right, let's get a nice aerial view of Claywood and see how it's coming along so far. Okay, so I've let it simulate for a bit longer. I wanted to make sure that this death care problem wouldn't be an issue moving forward. And so far, it seems like it's solved. I don't think we have too many icons. I was a bit worried that I placed it too far away and it still wouldn't serve the downtown very well. That's kind of true, but it doesn't seem to be something I'm experiencing right now. Oh, and we reached milestone 12. No way, did we get more signature buildings? This would be nice. But we get 300,000. 12 points, 21 expansion permits, we don't really need it, and we do get the Heritage Museum. I don't know if I'm going to place that. It's a tricky one to place because I feel like it needs to be in the right area. I don't know, we'll see. But did we unlock anything else? And no, it doesn't seem like we did. We do have the bookshop we can still place. I don't know if I don't know. This one's a tricky one for me. It has a very specific look, and because of that, I feel like it needs to go in a very specific place. I think we'll shelf this one for now. Maybe we'll return to that in the future. While I'm still on topic for services, I do think we need to improve our fire and rescue. Right now, we got one building, I think, serving the entire area, which is just completely unrealistic. It's massive area. And there it is. Yeah, there it is. We only have one fire and rescue building. So we'll place one in. If I had to place one in, I would want it somewhere close to this supermarket, just because it's a pretty obnoxious use the firehouse is, and I think if we place it somewhere around here with all of our car-oriented stuff, it wouldn't be as obnoxious to residents who live right there. Maybe even right beside the football field, because if the football field's loud, then it doesn't matter if the firehouse is loud. Yeah, you know what? I think we're gonna go with it right here. It doesn't have too bad of a grade. We can place it on a road that would have really good service. I can't remember, does this building have upgrades? It does. Okay, so we'd get 4 more fire engines. That's not too bad. That gives us a strong path for upgradability in the future if we need to expand our services, which we definitely will. Now I'm just going to place some trees in, do a little bit of detailing, and that's kind of it for this fire station. As I came back over here, I realized I could have done a bit more because I forgot to finish the front. So I'm going to do this really quickly. And right now it still feels super bare, so I'm wondering if we can add in one of these like pergolas or these cover things to the area to try and, I don't know, frame it up a bit to give people a place to hide away from the sun. There's something that can be done here and I want to try it. And I've only ever really seen this be done in one place, and it's definitely a bit odd with the trees poking out, but I like it better than it was before. So I'll probably just leave it at this. It doesn't really need to be any crazier than this. Yeah, overall the area does feel a bit odd, especially with the trees poking through there, but you know what? I'm fine with it. I can't make everything look perfect, but I can sure do my best, and for right there, I'm going to consider that my best. Right here, I'm just going to do something super simple. I'm just going to stretch these surfaces out, add in some trees, maybe add in a little place for like a garden or somewhere to eat. Alright, and that took way longer than I thought it would, but I'm really happy with the outcome. It's one of those things where you spend your time and, you know, your time feels well spent. Now let's see, over here could use some work as well. There's these 2 garages in the back of this building, and honestly it doesn't make sense if there's no connection. So let's add that in. I'm not sure if it actually has a connection, but we can test it out and see. And you know what? That's actually looking pretty good. I'm wondering, how does it feel from the ground? Like, does this feel like it could actually kind of exist from the ground? But first, let's add a little tree right here. And maybe one right here too. Yeah, the tiles are a bit deformed. And I'm going to take a guess and say the dogs are going to clip into it. Oh no, that's bad. There's a lot of things happening around here that I don't like. But overall, it's a fine area. It's kind of cool that they're out here working out. I mean, most of them are just standing around. But at least there's one person working out. And they got the old 1,000-yard stare. Alright, let's check out this person. Wow. I wish I could do that. Breaking the laws of physics. Alright, now it's time to take on the task of building out this plaza right here. It looks like I kind of just sidelined it earlier. And there we go. I'll probably just keep the pergolas at that. I probably won't add it to the left building just to keep things a bit different, but it does feel a bit more busy and I kind of like that. It's a little bit of clipping, but you know, we'll make do. I think the plaza is pretty solid too. Overall, I think it kind of feels like somewhere you could go after you're at the bar. You know, you go back there and you do whatever it is you want to do. Let's tidy up these side pieces. And then we'll just add in a garbage can on this end and that end. And that way when people are eating, they have somewhere to throw all their trash. Right here, I think we'll probably just add some trees instead of making things more complex on this side. If you do too much on both sides, then it becomes overwhelming. But if we just had a few trees that clip into the building and we're going to ignore, you know, nothing, no harm, no foul. Okay, over here, first in the spot would be these trees. Obviously, we have to get rid of them because we don't have palm trees where we are. And we need to fix up some of these surfaces, and I think we're just going to replace all of them with something a little bit more upscale and fancy. And I think I like that. And then we're just going to grab a few points, ideally trying to find the doors, and then just pulling them into the other side. Alright, looking much better. Now let's just delete all the trees, all the bushes, and I think we'll keep the flower beds because I kind of like them. Now look at all this room we have. It is our canvas, and we will just smash some of these bushes on it. We'll go with pretty much any of these. We'll also add in some color a bit because this is, I don't know, this building just seems a little bit fancy to me. And I just love how vibrant it is. Usually I can get stuck using the same green bush over and over and over again, and honestly it just gets boring and bland and it makes everything kind of feel the same. So I really like mixing it up sometimes and just having all these colorful bushes. Now we have this nice green space back here. I think it makes sense just to add 1 or 2 gazebos, and that's pretty much it. Alright, and that is looking good. Now we have a bunch more plazas and areas to finish off, so let's see, I think we'll just do this one right here. Let's change the time of day so I can kind of see better. And it didn't really help at all, but we'll just jump into it anyways. But first we need to move this. I didn't realize it's hanging off the side of the sidewalk. And thankfully we have just enough room on the other side. Then let's just add a decal right here, just to make it seem like people actually drive in here. And that's pretty solid. This one wasn't too complex, it was actually probably one of the easier ones. And let's see, what else do we have to add here? We also have the bookstore. I want to get that in too. So I'm wondering where we should place that. Maybe right beside the movie theater? I think that might be a decent fit. Let's see, let's pull it up. Here it is. It's a bit weird. It doesn't really look like a bookstore to me. But honestly, we can make this be whatever we want it to be. And then we're just going to do a tiny bit of work. We're going to create a little plaza in the back. We're going to change up the surfaces a bit. We're going to add in some trees. I also think we have to add a mural just because this brick wall is very, very odd. There's no windows. There's nothing on it. And I think a cat could do. Let's see. So we kind of have 2 cat options. We could put a rabbit on there as well. I think for the cool factor, we have to go for the cat. It looks pretty cool. On the back, I still want something as well, just because, again, there's no windows, there's nothing, but I don't want it to be as overwhelming. And you can tell that this definitely tells a story. I don't know what the story is personally, but it tells a story. And I'm getting way too sidetracked thinking about all this art. So let's finish off with the surfaces, the trees, maybe add a pocket park if we can fit one in here. Okay, now the city is losing out on revenue because I keep adding in park spaces and green spaces, and we're gonna break that up right now. We're gonna add in some commercial right here. I think we'll just go with these two buildings. They complement each other, gives a varying level of height, which I like. All we're missing is more paths and more green space, which I just talked about not adding in. But it's okay. I mean, hey, let's give people a place to walk around, especially behind this giant parking lot. Right here, I want to stick with that older type style, but maybe have some new ones around the corner. I actually kind of like this apartment building a lot, but I don't think it fits right here. That one's way too big. Row homes will be coming soon, and that one's way too big. So what do we got here? I actually like these ones a lot too, but I don't think it fits in with this area. And I love this building a lot, but I tend to use it too much, and it makes me want to place down like 3 of them, and I love the way it looks. Over here, I think we can get away with something similar, just placing down 4 of these buildings. And as usual, let's give access to the rear of these buildings, because why would we have this rear if we couldn't access it? It doesn't make any sense. And then yeah, that's perfect to me. We don't need to do too much here. We've done a lot to a lot of the other lots already. These are older buildings. This is probably an older lot. And I think a few trees and some grass ties it all together. I've been avoiding this lot for a while now, but I'm thinking maybe we'll add some commercial in. I think we'd have to have big commercial though, because this is our big lot or our highest density lot. And the reason why is because I think it'd actually help with our unemployment. So if we put one of these in, that one's actually not too bad. That one's too big. I think this is actually fairly reasonable for the area and compared to all the other buildings. Maybe we can get away with one of these as well, but I don't like the placement. I figured we would make more sense to be closer to the water, and I think that placement is pretty solid. And I think that's it. That's the lot right there. Then we'll add in a plaza, and I think this is all we'll do for this little lot right here because I don't want it to feel overwhelming and too jam-packed. I'm not in love with this surface, but I had one goal. I want this area to feel unique from the rest. This does have our high density commercial. It does have our high density apartment buildings. And really this area should feel slightly more unique, slightly more, I don't know, maybe upscale. There we go, and that is so much better than just leaving that bone dry or just bland. So much better. For this lot right here, I do have some special buildings planned and already picked, but I need to fix this garage area. Right now it makes absolutely no sense. Where are they getting access to? Alright, now if this building has an actual connection, we will add it in, let's see. And no, it doesn't. Surprise, surprise. It was like the last one too. They didn't actually have a connection to their garage. So my question is it from the front end then? It's probably from the front. I'm going to add it in just because. Why not? Okay, now for these special buildings, I think they're really going to define this area and it's going to look really nice. So we'll have a left one and a right one, and then we'll just add the middle in. And I can't wait to see how this looks. All right, that was a very complex area to detail. I did most of the backyard. It's just there was so many surfaces stacked on top of each other that it just became kind of a pain. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I like how these buildings feel in this area, and I like how the backyard feels. So it was worth fighting with surfaces for 10 minutes, definitely. And with the trees, that just completes it. Okay. This area is looking really good. I need to lock these. Oh no, why isn't it on? Oh, is it because my game crashed? Oh my god, I'm so glad I realized. All of these would have leveled up and I would have had a stroke. I'm wondering if, oh my god, wow. Yeah, my game crashed a while back. I was doing a bunch of move it things while the game was running, and all of a sudden, boom. And I find that plop the growables, the setting that keeps the buildings locked when you plop them, sometimes that resets when your game crashes or restarts. Okay, so I've checked most of them. They all seem to be locked now, and I'm oh my god, I missed one. How? I missed 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess when I was talking about it, I totally skipped over these. I am in love with how this area feels though. It's such a good area. It's gotta be my favorite downtown that I have ever made in my entire life, both in CS1 and in CS2. Oh, I love it so much. I love it so much. Anyways, let's move on to the next area. We actually have a good amount of money, and I'm wondering how our services look. So we have a high crime risk of -10. And let's check it out. So yeah, it's not looking too good. The crime probability for some of these buildings is just extremely high. And it makes sense. We have 2 police buildings and they have a lot of area to cover. So I think we'll add in the police station from the southwestern pack. We'll add it in right about here. I think this is a fine area. Kind of away from all of our residential uses, but still close enough to actually do stuff. And I think we might as well add these extra cars. I don't know about the jail capacity, but I do know about the police vehicles. I think we could definitely use that, just given how much area there is to cover in the entire city. One of the things that I always found odd with this asset was the number of connections that you can actually have. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are actually paths that you can draw in. You can see it right there. It's the blue invisible 2-way car road type thing. We're gonna add in these 2. Maybe we'll add in the side one. I don't know though. Don't ask me why, but for some reason drawing these in reminded me that we should probably add postal service as well, because we have not done it well enough throughout the city. We have one tiny post office, I'm pretty sure, and it's in the original Ashland. So I think we'll just add it right here. It's a pretty compatible use, very car orientated. The Japanese one is the one that fits best, so I think that's just the one we'll go with. Not too much to do here. It's pretty much fine the way it is. Now I've went through and added just a bunch of different mail connections to pretty much all of the neighborhoods. I mean, it doesn't really make sense that these 2 postal offices would be covering all this area, but we're going to say Ashland's foot in the bill because why not? Next thing we need is telecom. We don't have any internet whatsoever. And with a city of this size, I would assume we would at least have some internet. So we're going to unlock the telecom tower, and that's the one we're going to place down. To me, this one always just makes the most sense. Using the other one, I think it's the radio tower, it just offers not enough benefit for what you get. And we're just going to take our dirt road and then just draw it all the way up, add in our telecom tower. It won't provide all of the coverage, but we're going to be fine with what we got. It's better than nothing. And you can see we almost have full coverage, but we're missing, ironically, just a little bit of our new downtown. We could add in another radio mast over here, but I think for the meantime, we're just going to call it. In the future, I do want to expand this, but I want to do it the right way. I don't want to use up this land just yet. Now I'm going to stop getting distracted. I'm going to finish detailing this little area. I just want to run a path through here. And that's it. We'll probably just add some trees and a little bit of manicured grass, and then we're done with this. Now for this lot, I'm just going to add some very simple commercial. We're going to use the lot depth of 2, and it'll just be those southwest buildings. I like these a lot because they kind of feel like strip malls. After that, we'll just run a parking lot road right in the middle. We'll add some trees and we're done. Now up here, I do want more car-centric uses because I do want the areas to feel very, very different. So because of that, to me, car-centric uses right beside the fire station makes perfect sense. I'm thinking we can just probably put a few of these in here, but I'm wondering if there's anything else. And I really like this. This to me screams grocery store, and I feel like we can definitely find a really good place. Not there though. Maybe right there? Definitely. That's a perfect spot to have it. Back up by our fire station, maybe something like this. It almost looks like a car wash, but I'm not entirely sure what it actually is, but it can work. Behind it, let's just add, I guess, 2 of these small ones. Yeah, that works perfectly. Because these are super car centric though, and just because I like paths, I'm gonna run one through there. And that's good for that area. We're getting really close to finishing. It's kind of exciting. Back up by our police station, I think I've decided on adding some office in. It would be very compatible because the police station would be fairly loud and the office probably wouldn't mind as much as residential. Now we'll just run a parking lot road right behind it. Then right across from that, along this road right here, we'll have more car-centric uses. These are probably fast food. And is this area a bit obnoxious? Definitely. Is this area a stark contrast to what we've been building pretty much the entire episode? Definitely. But it happens everywhere, and it's going to happen in Ashland too. Over by the grocery store place, I'm going to place this as well. I could see this either being a pharmacy or a competing grocery store, maybe even a Walmart. I wish we had a Walmart. That would be awesome if we had a Walmart. But actually, we do have some decals from the Canadian pack, and I think I'm just going to add Loblaws here as a joke. This would probably be more of a Zayres. And yeah, I just added a few trees, fixed up some of the surfaces because they were looking a bit weird, and that's perfectly fine with me. Now on the other side of this road, we're just going to place some office in. I don't really want to keep using the southwestern pack or the northeast pack, so I'm just going to use some good old vanilla offices. I'm going to throw them in here. Going to try and vary it up as much as possible, but there's really only so many options, and I'm just trying to get some jobs in. Then behind this, we'll just place some trees. We're not going to do anything too crazy here. Maybe we'll extend the surface. You know what? Let's get a bit wild. Let's place this park right here. Let's give the people who work at these offices somewhere to sit and go to lunch. And that's looking good. It's super simple, but it's looking good. Maybe we can add a few more trees right there. Yeah, no, I think that's fine. And let's just add our grass surface. Okay, and that's looking pretty good. Now I'm wondering, these have all added a fair amount of jobs. What does our unemployment look like? How bad is it? 20.2%. Okay, so it's pretty bad still. It's pretty bad. And I'm going to add a bunch more office to help out with that. But it's going to be offsetted because I'm going to build out a bunch more row homes as well. So we'll see. I don't know if it's really going to help or not, but that whole entire back area is going to be row homes and it's going to look good. Right here though, let's add something of decent density. I don't want to go too crazy here, but I still want it to be nice. This will be a bit of an awkward parcel to work with just because it's that weird shape where it's like, okay, we can't really add a road between here. We can't really fit any buildings that are uniform. Maybe if this was low residential, it would be super easy, but it's not. So we're going to have an interesting time here. Skipping ahead, I struggled to build out this area. I don't know if I've been playing for too long in like one sitting or what, but like this weird parcel, just no matter what I tried, I couldn't get it to look nice. I ended up settling on something like this, which, you know, I think it's fine. It does the trick. The parking is a bit weird because it's not enough. But overall, I think it's going to do just well enough for what we need it to do. All right, now let's get some actual parks in here. So we have our sports park, and we have our football field, we have our soccer field, but maybe we could use a basketball park. And let's check this out. We have our new asset right here. And I have a feeling it's not going to look too good just because the terrain is a bit wonky there. But let's place it down anyways. Yeah, and you can tell that the decal is kind of like clipping to the ground. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to play basketball there. We should be able to get a dog park in here because the dog park is fairly small. Yeah, so the terrain should just kind of conform around it. And then we could get a playground in, or maybe one of these chirper parks. I don't really like how blue and how chirpy it is. It just feels a little too much and in your face. But honestly, I'm just going to go for it because why not? I don't want to reuse the same assets over and over and over again. I will delete these decals though. Other than that, it's okay. You know what? The blue is a bit in your face, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll move on. We'll accept it. And then to finish off this parcel, let's either add some commercial or some office just right in here. I think we could probably fit 2 of them. And I guess commercial is probably our best bet just because it'll employ more people. So we'll toss down one right about here and another one right here. And that's looking pretty good. Now let's just add our grass surface right on top of it. Across from that little park area, I was thinking we could have another park, but also at the same time, we do need to get some office in or some commercial, so we need more jobs essentially. And honestly, I could see it going either ways, depending on how the city wants to play this. They could think, okay, well, if we add more parks, then this area will be more desirable, so more people will move here. But if we add more jobs, it'll be more desirable, so more people will move here. And looking at the parks, I don't really see one that I'd add in, but I love these plazas. These plazas are awesome. If they weren't so expensive and so massive, I would want to add one in. And we also have this Neo Barracks building. We could probably add this in somewhere. I'm not sure how well it fits in with Claywood right now. And I mean, if we placed it right here, we could totally delete those roads and just rework our road network. But I don't know. This area to me screams row homes, and I think it's going to look really nice. I'm going to redeem myself from the, I think what, episode 11? Now, you know what? Let's just add office in here. I think making this area a little bit more complex was not really the goal. The goal was to make this more car-centric, more commercial and office orientated. And because of that, I'm just going to add our office in. It makes more sense, to be honest, especially in this area. Really, I wanted that more higher density area to feel more massive, to feel more pedestrian-like. And I wanted this area to feel less pedestrian-like, more car-centric. I mean, the simple reasoning is that we just honestly need more jobs. So that's fine. Although I think unemployment might be bugged. Either way, we're going to have to add in a school pretty soon because we have all these office jobs, and right now we're importing a lot of our highly skilled workers, which we just can't do forever. Now let's just finish off this lot right here with some parks, some detailing, and some paths. I'm going to have to do a 180 on the parks because I can already tell that that's going to create a lot of issues. I'm imagining that the terrain is just a little bit too different here, so we'll just add in some trees. Okay, we're going to be moving through a lot of these plots pretty quickly now. For this little area right here, I do want to add in some trees, just because this will be a park eventually. There is a decent hill, but not too big. Okay, then right beside the park, I've been debating whether we should have row homes or more office here, just because we need the jobs, and this seems to be more of a job-centric area. I think I'm probably just going to add a bunch of office. And I guess by a bunch, I mean a little. Let's add a parking lot here as well, because it would kind of be unreasonable to not have one here. But all of the parking assets are going to be just slightly too big other than this one, and I don't know, this one just feels a bit odd to me, especially because we probably could fit more parking in here, but we just have this weird terrain to contend with where it's kind of sloped on each road. And you know what, let's just keep it simple. Let's add in 2 parking, I guess 1 parking lot because there's not enough room here, and then we'll just add in some trees. Over here, earlier on, I believe I designated this as park space, so I'm going to live up to that. I don't want to do anything too crazy or complex here. I really want to keep this area kind of simple. I thought about adding this in, but then I decided no. Even if I could make it work in terms of like the size, let's just not do that. And it's weird because I keep coming back to the vanilla assets. I use these so much that I'm just so used to them And because of that, I really like to change it up whenever I can, or even just build custom parks. But I do think this works fairly well here once we remove the fences and just kind of clean up these paths. And then to improve our centerpiece, I'm looking for a surface that we haven't used yet and really meshes well with this area. And I love this one. It has kind of that almost old-time brick feel, but also feels pretty new. You know, I imagine Ashland would probably have really strict rules around cutting down trees or replanting them, because the city and the county are literally named after ash trees. And I feel like that's probably one of the reasons why this build would be a bit polarizing for the citizens of Ashland. Trees are kind of baked into their identity, and the people who live here would probably be really well aware of the benefits, like keeping temperatures down or sucking up rainwater or preventing roads from eroding. So I'm picturing a place right now that's still trying to hold on to that ash tree's identity while also expanding and modernizing, and that wouldn't be very easy. There'd be strict tree laws for cutting, replanting, and even talking about cutting them down to make room for new development might be a cultural issue. I can also imagine that the previous members of the city or city council, or even those who go and vote, they probably would have placed a lot of barriers for tree removal and replanting. So maybe you need a permit, and to get that permit, you've got to hire a professional forester to mark every tree. Maybe they have to write up a plan explaining why you need to cut them down and how you're going to do it without gutting the area. And that's probably why just laying out roads or planning a new district or building out a park may not be as straightforward as it might seem. There would be a lot of pushback and probably a few weird tree laws. And I'm also imagining a minimum requirement to replant more trees. Anyways, let's add in some row homes to this plot right here. Okay, now I'm going to keep this as reference. It's not exactly how I want it to be, but doing this just made me really confident about our kind of waterfront row home area. And I am excited to get to it because I have a really good plan. And I have a few buildings that I'm going to select out and primarily plop. And I think it's going to be my best row home area yet. Finishing up on this area, I'm not going to do too much. Really, I'm just going to try and make the inner plazas make more sense. But for the most part, this area isn't meant to be as detailed as much as the downtown. Okay, looking good. Let's move to our waterfront. And of course, I need to lock these first. How could I forget? For our waterfront development, specifically for our row homes, I'm just going to vary the heights as much as possible. Try and vary the lot depth as much as possible as well, because that'll give us some varying heights. And really just try and create something that feels super cohesive, unique to the city, and overall just pleasing. Because I'm going to vary it up like this, sometimes we're going to end up with a really weird little backyards and areas that don't have anything on them. We could just replace the building and make it smaller, but I don't want to do that. So we'll add in like pocket parks or trees or paths. That's pretty much the plan for that. Okay, and I really love the way that feels. So that's pretty much the format we're going to go with for a lot of these plots. I am beyond happy with how this little area turned out. It came together so cohesively. Because we added a bunch of row homes, I also wanted to add a few jobs here, so I just used vanilla offices. You know, I didn't want to keep using the Southwest assets because they tend to get a bit repetitive, and they have a very distinct look too, where I feel like most of these vanilla assets could pass for almost anything, whether a bank, whether a store, whatever it may be. The problem I always have with vanilla assets is they always end up repeating. Like we have 4 of the same ones right here, and then 2 of the same ones right here. So we'll delete them and try and replace them with some Southwest. Maybe we can get something a bit better. And actually, now that I'm thinking about this, let's just delete one and add in a parking lot. It makes sense to have here, because other than this, there wouldn't be any parking. And then right beside that lot, let's just add a bit more office too. And then let's get back to our beautiful row homes. And let's just take a quick look and see how it feels from a lower angle. I love it. I love it so much. When we were zoning out Hickory Bluffs, I failed so hard with the row homes. And so this really, to me, is my redemption arc. This is where I come back and claim my victory. There's not really that many plots left. We have none in our downtown except for that one at the end, which I'm saving. And then we have like 2.5 right here. I think something that we need to put right here is a parking lot because we don't have any around here for this area. Looks a bit odd, so I'm wondering if I can just set this to object height and see if it'll fix it. And no, it only made things worse. Okay, so we'll just reset that. Maybe we'll give this a little bump up and see if that helps. And it kind of helped, I guess. As I was moving the buildings, I was looking at this one, and for some reason, it reminds me of a pizza. And for some reason, this one reminds me of a Tim Hortons. It's not entirely like 100%, but I could see it being a Tim Hortons. Okay, looking pretty good so far, and there is a fire. I am super happy that I added the fire station because I almost didn't. Speaking of the fire station, right beside it, let's just add some office in. I feel like this is probably the better area to do it. I don't want to add too much residential here because there would be a lot of noise pollution. And would you look at that, we actually have some commercial demand, so let's just toss that in right away. And would you look at that, we are done. And wow, I've spent so much time on this project, but I'm really happy that I did spend so much time because it actually feels like a really solid place. It feels so real and I don't know, I love it. In terms of households, we've added 2,934. That's pretty good. We've added 5,437 residents and somehow 724 dogs. Our average wealth is actually wealthy, which is surprising. And overall, we've added 2,126 jobs, which is super important given that we have an insane unemployment problem, which still isn't solved. It has to be bugged. It has to be bugged. There's no way that number is real. Even our homeless rate is only 0.8%, which is honestly pretty good. Our mail coverage in this area is a bit bad, but we're going to save that for a future episode. Our telecom, again, needs to be improved. And let's take a look at our land value. So the Claywood and the public school have very similar property values, which doesn't really make sense, but I guess it's because of the sports park. And I think this actually may be our most valuable area. Our education isn't doing too bad either. We have just slightly more eligible than we do in our capacity. We have a fair amount of educated people and well-educated people, but that's probably just because we're importing them. In the future, as they have children and they die off, we'll definitely need to have a college and a university, which maybe we'll put in Woodland, I'm not sure yet. We have tons of parks. You can just tell how many parks there is. It'd be a great place to live. I feel like I was just trying to do like a sales pitch.
Do you fancy a stroll through a picturesque park? Well, good heavens, have we got parks. Step right up, folks, and plant your posterior on one of our many splendid benches here in Ashland. That's right, from the serene
what am I doing? Overall, I think this came out perfect. I love how this downtown came out. It's so much better than I pictured in my head. In my head, I thought it was going to be okay. But now what I have right here is just so much better. Let's do a quick before and after. And that is a wrap. This has been a super fun build, one of my longest for sure, and definitely took a lot of time. If you enjoyed, a like, comment, and subscribe would really help support the channel. Either way, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.